If you're new to pickleball, you might have an immediate urge to dominate the court. In this video, we will discuss the most effective strategies for lifting your pickleball game right away. If you know these tricks, you'll be able to win more often and with greater consistency. There are a lot of common blunders made by both novice and veteran pickleball players. There's a great deal of leeway in terms of footwork, stroke, route, and strategy. This is why acquiring as much information as possible about the sport is crucial. Make a new habit out of one thing you're working on every game. Eventually, you'll witness the results of these practices and see improvement in your pickleball abilities. Hello and welcome to Pro Pickleball Media, your #1 spot for all pickleball content. Today's video, we're going to talk about 11 advanced strategies of pro pickleball players that every beginner should learn. Now let's get straight into the video. 1. Serve the ball deep and to the backhand of your opponent. As a pickleball pro, this is one of my most underappreciated pieces of advice. In pickleball, the serve is the most important part of the game. Poor serve can put you behind the 8-ball from the get-go. Because of this, a serve that is perfectly placed is crucial. Your serve should travel deep into the service box and be directed at your opponent's backhand. It's because your opponent's backhand is likely to be his or her greatest area of vulnerability. Purpose of a deep serve is to get control of the net before your opponent can. This tactic will allow you to create space for volleys and overheads. Your opponent will probably hit your serve into the net or out of bounds. In any case, you're setting yourself up for success right now. To get better at serving, try doing 15 to 20 serves before each game. Go for the corners of the service box, far to the left and right. Make necessary changes in response to environmental variables such as wind speed. You'll know you've got it when you can serve reliably for 5 to 10 points. 2. Always be in ready position. The second piece of advice is also crucial to the sport. Correct placement is essential when serving. Make sure you're nimble before the point begins. The majority of your weight should be distributed evenly across the balls of your feet. Keep your knees bent ever so slightly. Unlike in tennis, you don't need to have a lot of pep in your step. You should, however, maintain a level of vigilance and perhaps a little pep in your step. Paddle placement is another consideration. For ground strokes, you should hold your paddle out in front of you at chest level. This facilitates instantaneous changes to either a backhand or forehand. The only difference is that a volley player will hold their paddle somewhat higher, closer to their chest. Check your readiness before each bullet point. If not, you should definitely jump right in. After playing pickleball for a while, this will become second nature and you won't even have to think about it. Finalizing the ready position is the grip. In general, a neutral or continental grip is preferable. If you do this, you can be ready for every shot your opponent makes, be it a forehand, smash, or volley. 3. Commit to your shot selection. One of the most typical blunders made by inexperienced players is second-guessing your own decisions. There's no chance of success if you don't commit fully to your attempt. When you hesitate before taking a shot, you almost always end up missing the goal or traveling way out of bounds. It's natural to be nervous about taking a shot. This happens to everyone, even the most skilled pickleball players. But if you want to get great at pickleball, you need to start believing in your shot. Training and practice are the foundation. Warm up with a partner to perfect this skill. Always aim for the target and go all the way through the motions. You won't feel any pressure because you're not actually risking anything by playing. Take the same approach with you into the real game. This doesn't imply you should act irrationally. Rather, it means you should play more freely and less anxiously. 4. Perfect your dink game. Among the most important shots to master in pickleball is the dink. The intention of this shot is to nullify the strength of the opponent. Even if your opponent has a stronger volley or ground stroke, you can still win by dinking well. Unlike in paddle tennis or tennis, this is a shot that can only be made in pickleball. Dink shots or soft drop shots are placed close to the volley line and may be new to some players. Typically, they will land in the kitchen or non-volley zone of the opposing team. In tennis, the basics of serving, volleying, and hitting ground strokes are assumed to be known by all players. To be sure, the dink is one of the trickiest shots to perfect. The key to a successful dink is a very delicate touch with the bat. It's ideal if the ball just barely clears the net upon being hit. If you execute this maneuver successfully, your opponent will likely send the ball into the net or out of play. Find a buddy to work on your skills with. A dink rally is a competition between you and a partner to see who can keep it going the longest. You'll get used to the motion and learn exactly how hard you need to strike the ball. The next step is to put it into actual games. 5. Keep the pickleball low. It's crucial to keep the ball low in order to avoid volleys and smash shots over heads. If one team can volley effectively and the other can't keep the ball low, the game may be over quickly. If you keep the ball at a low height, your opponent will be compelled to dink or use a less effective ground stroke. Here are some things to remember if you want to maintain your ball at a low trajectory. To begin, at what degree do you hold your paddle? If the target is in the sky, you might guess that keeping the ball down will be a challenge. To send the ball over the net, close your paddle face and swing through. Your paddle speed is something else to work on. The paddle speed is required to get the ball over the net should be increased if you have a closed face. If your paddle face is more rounded, you should paddle more slowly to keep the ball at a lower height. To get warmed up, try experimenting with different paddle face angles and speeds with a friend. Determine which permutation best maintains a low ball. Now, before we move ahead to talk about more interesting strategies, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to our channel so that we can keep bringing you more informative pickleball content to you. Your little contribution means a lot for us. Number 6, stay out of no man's land. Probably the most frequent error made by novice pickleball players is wandering in no man's land. In my opinion, this is a truly awful practice. To begin, the region begins with a no volley line, and the baseline is known as no man's land. It's human nature to avoid making a net and volley commitment if you can help it. On the other hand, your net position gives you the most power. Staying in no man's land will result in incoming projectiles landing directly at your feet. You'll have to awkwardly raise the ball before it bounces unless you're timing the bounce just right. The odds of success for each of these are very small. No time for chasing volleys if you're stuck in no man's land. You can practice this by making all of your on-count movements consist of either going for the net or going for the baseline. Staying in no man's land is a surefire way to get killed. Number 7, take the net as often as possible. Net control is a big part of pickleball, whether you play singles or doubles. It's common knowledge that the net is the place to be in any racket sport. At the net, you can use your volley and smash strokes to maximum effect. They are the strongest and most efficient shots in the game of pickleball. It could be alluring to play defensively and rely on ground strokes, but getting to the net as soon as possible is essential to this point. After seizing possession of the net, you can force your opponent or opponents to run in all directions in pursuit of your volleys and smash shots. You can begin to get the hang of ground strokes by practicing with a partner. After trading a few shots, you should sprint to the net and start smashing the ball. You'll soon see that it won't take many attempts to score. Number 8, use high percentage shots. The phrase high percentage shots appears frequently throughout this list. This calls for safer, more surefire attempts. You shouldn't keep trading ground strokes back and forth, as doing so increases the likelihood of making a mistake. Instead, you should rely on volleys, drop shots, dink shots. This is considerably a higher percentage shot. Drop shot can be hit with greater regularity. While you probably won't be able to dart the ball past your opponent, you should still have a good chance of scoring. To make matters worse, you've been making the common error of hitting too many lobs. A well-placed lob can be an effective way to force an opponent to retreat, but if you lob the ball too much, there's a good chance you'll have it either slam back at you or hit and have to roll 5 feet out of bounds. In general, you should spend a lot of time perfecting your drop shots, dinks, and volleys. Although lobs and ground strokes, 2 more risky shots, can be effective, it's usually better to play it safe. Number 9, hit at your opponent's feet. This is one of the most obvious pieces of advice for the sport of pickleball, but it's also one of the least utilized. Shoot for the feet of your opponent whenever possible. Your opponent is in a very precarious situation if you attack their feet. They will be disoriented and forced to pick the ball up off the floor. This usually results in a high shot that can easily be volleyed or knocked down. Just pay attention to where you're putting your shots during a game to get some practice. In addition, during warm-ups, you can practice hitting certain targets to improve your accuracy. Number 10, have discipline. By discipline, I mean the ability to play with both patience and intelligence. It's very uncommon to see players go for an overhead smash from 10 feet out, despite the fact that the ball was already moving. You should have the self-control to refrain from returning a volley if your opponent strikes a ground stroke or volley at you that is heading out. The point is the most important thing. The temptation to try a fancy volley or smash shot is understandable, but if you have a better chance of winning by letting the ball go, you should. You can get some practice in by having a partner hit heavy strokes at you while you're at the net. You should hit the ball if you think it will stay in the goal. Toss the ball if you think it will travel a long distance. Keep track of whether or not the ball actually went out of bounds once you let go. Then make the necessary adjustments so that you can learn to sense which balls are safe to drop. These pickleball pointers are useless unless you exercise self-control. Number 11, always think one step ahead. This is arguably the single most useful piece of advice for the sport of pickleball. The action in a game of pickleball is rapid and furious. If you can anticipate your opponent's next move, you'll be in a strong position to win. Keep track of your opponent's tendencies while you play so that you can capitalize on their weaknesses afterwards. If you have a drop shot and your opponent consistently misses it, keep using it. They should be moved to the other side of the court if they prefer to stand on one side exclusively. If you pay great attention to the finer points, you can gain an advantage in nail-biting situations. Achieving mastery of pickleball can take a lot of time and effort. We hope that you can use these suggestions to speed up your pickleball development. So what is your number 1 strategy to improve your pickleball game? Tell us in the comments. Also, don't forget to like this video and share it with your fellow picklers. Also, if you love pickleball, then make sure to watch this next video on our channel. Thanks for watching. Bye.